Zombies in gaming have made for some truly memorable experiences. Whether it's the T-virus-infected undead of Resident Evil or Left 4 Dead's hordes, they can offer both a sense of horror along with campy fun. But of course, there are plenty of bad zombie games that have been released over the years as well. Let's take a look at 10 of them here. Land of the Dead: Road to Fiddler's Green. Released in 2005, George A. Romero's Land of the Dead offered strong socio-political commentary in a post-apocalyptic world. It also provided the unique twist that the undead may not be as brain-dead as many thought. By comparison, Land of the Dead: Road to Fiddler's Green by Brainbox Games is an uninspired FPS, where players mow down hordes of zombies in a prequel-esque setup, which ultimately means nothing in the grand scheme of things. Multiplayer is also a thing, and while co-op survival makes sense, other modes like Team Deathmatch don't. Both were horrible anyway, so it didn't really matter. The gameplay is painfully slow, whether you're attempting to bash zombies to death or dealing with the clunky gunplay. The visuals, from the environments to the zombies themselves, are awful, but still somehow better than the audio, with its horrendously repetitive music and mundane voice acting. Sadly, in terms of movie tie-ins, it was par for the course for games released in 2005. The Walking Dead: Survival Instinct. The good news: Norman Reedus eventually got a good starring role in video games thanks to Death Stranding. The bad news? He, along with Michael Rooker, had to suffer through The Walking Dead: Survival Instinct, reprising their roles as Daryl and Merle Dixon from AMC's TV series. Serving as a, shocker, prequel to the show, Survival Instinct saw the brothers battling zombies and foraging for supplies en route to Atlanta. Along with managing ammo and food, the duo would encounter other people who had as much impact on the plot as creator Robert Kirkman did on development. Read very little. Pretty much everything about the experience screamed blatant cash grab, with subpar visuals, awful controls, and repetitive environments. An action-oriented title with substance was very much doable, see The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners, but Survival Instinct made it look like a nearly insurmountable task. Resident Evil: Operation Raccoon City. In November 2010, a rumor emerged about a new multiplayer-focused Resident Evil title. This wasn't the first time that fans had experienced online multiplayer and co-op in the franchise, thanks to 2003's Resident Evil Outbreak. Developed by Slant 6 Games and set around the same period as Resident Evil 2 and 3, Operation Raccoon City featured 12 characters among its two sides, the Umbrella Security Service and the US Special Ops. Along with a single-player mode, it had a mode where both teams faced each other. Zombies, as you would expect, were also involved, and actually offered some interesting mechanics. A bitten character would slowly lose life and eventually control, attacking their team until killed, but gain certain bonuses before fully turning. There was even a Heroes mode for playing as legendary characters like Leon, Claire, Jill, Ada, and so on in a free-for-all. So what happened? The cover system, among other things, felt extremely bad. When killed as an infected, your teammates could simply revive you, unless you're playing with the AI, which means you'll stay dead, possibly forever. Gunplay is bland and boring. Ammo is rare, which makes sense for a solo survival horror experience, but results in a tedious time when playing online, and that's not counting all of the glitches. Despite selling relatively well, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City has been trashed by critics and fans of the series. Umbrella Corps. Umbrella Corps was an idea that no one in their right minds thought should happen. As a mercenary for one of two corporations, players would compete in multiplayer matches to eliminate their opposition. This could be done with the usual guns and explosives. However, because Umbrella Corps had to be wacky and unique, it had a weird cover system that allowed for hiding behind objects highlighted in blue. The Brainer combat axe for deflecting attacks, and tools that could leverage the various zombies on each map. Everyone had a zombie jammer on their back which helps to avoid detection from the zombies, and which your enemies can shoot or disrupt with a jammer buster. To the surprise of absolutely no one, not one single person, it was a failure, both as a horror title due to how pathetic the zombies were, and as a competitive shooter because of bugs, awful balance, and shockingly low production values. For as much as one may rag on Resistance and the upcoming RE-verse, they are masterpieces compared to Umbrella Corps. DAYMARE 1998. Invader Studios' survival horror titles started out, as many of these do, with the best possible intentions. It was originally a fan remake of Resident Evil 2, but the developer urged to cancel that at Capcom's behest, since the company had its own official remake in the works. As a result, Resident Evil 2 Reborn became DAYMARE 1998. 3 playable characters, a shift from escaping Raccoon City to infiltrating the lab where the biochemical weapon leaked, and so on, are just some of the changes that were made. However, this isn't some huge development team with substantial resources, and as a result, the overall game suffered from performance issues, bugs, subpar visuals, and many other issues. The gameplay could have been better, and the controls more responsive, but alas. For all the throwbacks that it offers, from the shuffling zombies to the cheesy story, the quality of DAYMARE 1998 just isn't there. Dead Rising 4. Among all of the games of the list, Dead Rising 4 probably ranks close to the top in terms of quality. Call it lowering the bar or damning with faint praise, but it did attempt to offer some fresh ideas to the formula. Aspects like battling hordes of zombies with whatever the player could find, the return of Frank West as the protagonist, and photography as a gameplay element were also welcome. The problem is that compared to the series' heights, Dead Rising 4 felt like a bland clone, packing the fundamentals but lacking any real soul, or even the series' trademark timer. This was compounded by an intriguing but ultimately lackluster story, a boring open world, and samey tasks. Again, not the worst zombie title to pick up at a deep discount, but a pretty big fall from grace compared to its predecessors. Dead Alliance. Compared to IllFonic's Friday the 13th the game, and even Predator Hunting Grounds, Dead Alliance sucked at launch, and continues to suck to this day. Co-developed along Psyop Games, it originally launched into early access as Moving Hazard, and offered competitive multiplayer with zombies thrown in. Maximum Games would step in as a new publisher, and Moving Hazard was renamed to Dead Alliance. So, what was the result? The same competitive multiplayer modes with one new map and solo survival thrown in, along with awful AI teammates, who are probably dumber than the zombies. It's really close. Several movement aspects like jumping and sprinting are outright broken, and the zombies themselves will glitch out when they're not materializing out of thin air. With an increased price over Moving Hazard and a full game upgrade option that's fairly shady, Dead Alliance was just a disaster. Infestation Survivor Stories. Almost a decade later, and the development of Infestation Survival Stories still remains as hilarious then as it does now. Originally released in 2012 as The War Z, in order to capitalize on the buzz around DayZ, it will launch with many of its promised features missing. This led to something fairly uncommon for Steam at the time, the game's removal and full refunds for customers. After blaming characters for misreading the store page, adding hour-long respawn timers and microtransactions for instantly respawning, and even the game and its forums being hacked, surely Infestation Survivor Stories got back on some kind of track, right? Sadly, no. Bugs, cheating, terrible optimization, awful visuals, pretty much everything that made the War Z terrible at a fundamental level had persisted. Strangely enough, it's still being updated, which is a testament to the developer's dedication, if nothing else. Overkill's The Walking Dead. In a way, you kind of have to feel bad for Overkill's The Walking Dead. The co-op first-person shooter's ambitions far exceeded its grasp, and it didn't help that publisher Starbreeze was facing its own financial issues. But ultimately, its poor attempts at mixing survival mechanics with character upgrades and abilities against the backdrop of the Walking Dead series led to its downfall. Despite having a story, it was delivered in as wooden and uninspired a way as possible. In an attempt to be different from the likes of Left 4 Dead, there was an alert meter which filled up as you made noise. Hit any of the 3 tiers and you'd be overwhelmed by zombies, thus putting a big damper on a lot of the shooting, and missions would become almost impossible to complete due to the sheer size of the horde. Matchmaking was horrendous, objectives were just boring and never changed, and you never had any markers for the same, leaving you running around to locate them. And the different characters did very little to change up the rote gameplay. Such was the game's failure that it would eventually be pulled from sale. Metal Gear Survive. From the very second it was revealed, Metal Gear Survive was hated by series fans. A zombie survival horror title with base defense, scavenging and crafting set in the Metal Gear universe, and very clearly recycling numerous assets from Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. You could ask why, and many people did back in the day, but Konami surged ahead anyway. Even if you could stomach the annoying microtransactions, always online requirement, and lame storyline, the gameplay was determined to annoy. Have fun managing your hunger and thirst on an almost constant basis, along with slaying hundreds of zombies in generic, unexciting ways, never feeling a sense of danger or accomplishment in the process. Though it somehow avoided universally negative reviews from critics, the overall reception to Survive was below average, and Konami quietly swept it under the rug after launch. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing, as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.